morning and welcome to another live edition of Wealth Building Wednesday. Wealth Building Wednesday is brought to you by TRHT Selma. That is TRHT, Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation. We are an initiative based in the historic city of Selma, Alabama, and brought to you by two very amazing nonprofit organizations located in Selma, the Selma Center for Nonviolence and the one and only Black Belt Community Foundation. And the purpose of Wealth Building Wednesday is to bring folks to the screen that you need to hear from when it comes to building your wealth. And today is like any other episode. We have an expert on with us this morning, Mrs. Danielle Wooten, who serves as the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Selma. We are excited to have her join us today. Welcome and good morning, Mrs. Wooten.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be back with you guys.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here because, honey, if people have not visited downtown Selma, if they have not traveled around our community, they have not been seeing all the great things that are happening in Selma. So, wanted to definitely check in with you about what's happening in Selma, in and around Selma, and to talk about this amazing new opportunity that has launched here. And Miss Wooten is off camera right now. Somebody's probably calling her. She is one of the most sought after folks in our community. But we're excited to have her here to talk about the great things that are happening here in Selma and this brand new initiative that is specifically dedicated to entrepreneurs in our community. So wanted to have you on, definitely, like I said, to catch folks up. So what is happening in the world of planning and development when it comes to the city of Selma?
So there is definitely a lot happening in planning and development. Of course, with the recovery from the tornado, we're looking at housing, infrastructure, and economic development. And when we look specifically at economic development, there are a lot of things happening in downtown Selma and throughout Selma. In terms of infrastructure, there are several projects that are underway that are in the design phase. We're getting ready right now to award the engineering contract to Krebs Engineering, who solicited and applied for the opportunity to manage and design the construction phase for the downtown and disaster area 1 street resurfacing. So that's going to be really amazing for downtown Selma.
Yeah.
That's for all of the 7 downtown streets that are local streets. Of course, we know Dallas and Broad are state highways, so those are not
Yes.
included. But all of the local streets are included through grants that were funded through Delta Regional Authority. So there was a $2 million award and there was a $407,000 award. So both of those projects are ready to move forward. There's also the Alabama Avenue Streetscape project, which is ready to move forward. And we're looking to move into phase 2, which is also going to be streetscape for Washington Street. There's a Washington Street drainage project that is the design phase is underway. So there are several things going on. Of course, you have talked about the Levitt Concert Series, which we are
Yes.
super excited about, which starts this Saturday in partnership with Black Belt Community Foundation and THRT. Lydia has done an amazing job of taking us into year 2. So kudos to you for all of your hard work and dedication and the team of people that work behind the scenes to do that. Again, we are super excited about Asher, who is going to be on June the
Yes.
22nd. And so we need Selma to be ready to show up on June the 22nd. We are going to have a good lineup of events for that day. And so be ready. The information is going to be coming out soon for Asher. Again, I know today we're here to talk about, oh, wait, I forgot the most important thing. So last week, we
Mhm.
had a meeting with ALDOT, Alabama Department of Transportation, and we have been
Yes.
working with them for over the last year trying to push the needle on getting that boardwalk project greenlit. We know that that project was awarded, honestly, in 2016, and with EHP, Environmental Historical Preservation, there's been some delays in terms of working through that process. But as of last week, that project is ready to move forward. And so we are super excited. Want to thank the team that has been working with us at ALDOT. So we are super excited. And the Boardwalk project, that's a 2-phase project. The first phase is the actual river walk expansion. And then the second phase is the actual docks to provide access to the Alabama River in downtown Selma, right off of Water Avenue. And so we are super excited that that project is moving forward.
Now, you know what? That project in particular is going to impact tourism in a major way. So when we see, these fishing competitions and things like that, we'll be able to host those events here in Selma, based in downtown. Also, to add to our Christmas, I know that you coordinate our holiday celebration. And so to see
Absolutely.
the holiday on the river, now that you have docks and we will have all of that accessible to our community and our visitors is an extraordinary opportunity. The project,
But let me
isn't it
just say, Lydia, because I like to have everybody's expectations level. So
Yes.
the project is being greenlit to move forward. So it
Okay.
does have to go through the actual design specification phase. So
Okay.
we're looking at about 2 years for that phase one to be actually completed. So that we got to go through design, we got to go through construction. So it's not going to happen in 3 months, just so
Right.
that we can level set the expectations. But you did touch on two other things that I wanted to highlight that I did not mention, because there are so many things
Much.
going
Yeah.
on. But when you talk about the fishing tournaments, just want to give a shout out to ADEM, the Alabama Department of Environmental Management,
Mhm.
the Alabama Department of Natural Resource Conservation, and the Alabama Wildlife Federation. Mr. Tim Wood, who has been instrumental in getting us funding and grants to go in and do the expansion and the restoration of the marina. And so phase one of that project is completed. The docks are in. You guys, if you haven't been down to the marina, feel free to go out there and take a look. We have entered into a partnership with the Alabama Wildlife Federation, and so they are also restoring the restroom facilities down there, and they are also doing a new pavilion. And so I don't know if you have been down to the marina in the last week, but the construction of the pavilion is also underway. And so again, want to give a special thanks to Mr. Tim Wood for all of his insight and vision for moving the marina, and his resources and his
Yeah.
connections, because networking matters. And because of his networks, we were able to get that project done. And then also, lastly, want to touch on, you mentioned the holiday
Yeah.
celebrations. And so, of course, the 4th of July is going to be coming up, and the advertising materials for that should be out by the end of this week. But this year, we're super excited that we're going to be doing a downtown street fair. And so we
Yeah.
know that in the spring, the Lions Club does, I mean, in the fall, the
So,
Lions Club does a fall fair. But
mhm.
now we're going to have a summer fair. And so that's going to kick off July the 3rd through the 7th. It's a full fair, full carnival. We're going to have the Levitt concert series. We're partnering
Mhm.
again with Levitt to have that July the 3rd performance. And I'm sure Lydia will
Mhm.
give you guys the details about that. But also, the fireworks are going to be on July 3rd. So we're going to have a big 4th of July kickoff on July the 3rd, but the weekend will go through July 7th.
That's awesome. Now, see, and I know people should have been taking notes because there's so much that you have shared with us that's happening in Selma. So, this is an amazing opportunity. So, if you live in or anywhere around Selma, you are invited to come enjoy this growth, join with us, and invest in the growth that is happening in Selma, Alabama. We have some amazing opportunities that are on board. And I want to just reiterate what Mrs. Wooten said. Y'all, when these announcements are made, don't expect things to happen like within 24 to 48 hours. There is a timeline that is set. So when we hear about the great announcements, like she said, about the development of the Riverwalk, there's a time period, right? So we can live with expectancy and plan ahead. So if you have a great business idea that makes sense to go along with that, then you have at least 2 years to get your ducks in a row. So if that means with you're starting with your personal credit, right? If you're starting investing in those materials. And so by the time that Riverwalk is developed, you have a wonderful opportunity to tap into the economy of our community. Because I definitely wanted to, I know that we've shared so much and so many great things that are happening in our community. One of those great things that you have spearheaded is the opportunity for local entrepreneurs to engage in a hands-on training like none other. Like I've heard of workshops, honey. I've been to plenty of workshops. I know people that lead workshops, but you are crafting this amazing opportunity for entrepreneurs to have hands-on learning. And so I want you to kind of talk to us about this new initiative and the importance of it.
Absolutely. And so you guys probably have heard me over the last several months talk about Ignite Selma.
Yes.
Ignite Selma is an initiative in conjunction with Ignite Alabama, Ms. Torrin Brazel, also the Alabama A&M Cooperative Extension Program, and several partners that are going to be coming to the table to help local businesses go to the next step. That's Hope Credit Union. There are so many, too many for me to name, but the whole vision of that program is, in Selma, we talk about 8.4 million people travel through downtown Selma annually.
Mm-hmm.
Or, records for tourism is some years 100,000 people travel to Selma.
Mm-hmm.
200,000 people some years travel to Selma. And little known fact, in the state of Alabama, cultural and historical tourism actually is number one in the state of Alabama. It actually tops beaches and the shoreline, which a lot of people,
Wow.
I know myself, I did not realize that. And so there is
Yeah.
definitely a market for cultural and historical tourism. And Selma, of course, is the birthplace of that. And so
Yeah.
we do need to start capitalizing on the opportunities that come to Selma, but we right now are not able to retain the and not able to infuse that into our local economy. And so when we look at that, I always tell people, because a lot of people that are from here don't really get it. And I tell
Mm-hmm.
them, if you go to Google right now and you search for lunch, only one or two restaurants might pop up in downtown Selma. However,
Mm-hmm.
for us locals, the 17,000 of us that are locals, we know that we can go over to, I'm not going to call any names, but we can go over or we can cash out Miss So and so or Mr.
Mm-hmm.
So and so, and we can get a meal.
Yes.
Well, the 17,000 residents of Selma know that,
Mm-hmm.
but the 200,000 visitors that come to Selma don't know that. And
Right.
so for small businesses, if we are able to help you legitimize your business, able to help
Mm-hmm.
you do the proper formation of your business, able to help you come up with your actual business plan so you can have access to resources, help you come up with your management and staffing plan so that you can have longevity and sustainability, then we are setting not only you up as a small business owner for success and to be able to capture and capitalize off those 8.4 million people that travel through downtown Selma annually. Just imagine if they spent $1. That's
Man.
$8.4 million. And so to help you all win, but also to help Selma in this community and this economy win, because those funds, we are attracting all of these people from around the world, but we are not capturing the funds that they are spending. We are letting other communities benefit from
Right.
that. And so this program is dedicated to helping those small businesses that need to legitimately formalize, that need to legitimately develop a plan of how do I go from my kitchen to an actual restaurant where people know that I exist. How do I go from
Yeah.
Cash App and text messages and Facebook to make sure that my business is able to be found on Google when those 8.4 million people are searching for services and products. And so that is what this program is about. It is not just presentations. It is people that
Right.
are going to be connected to you, resources that are going to be connected to you, where you will have access to them throughout this entire process. There are going to be practical steps and activities and homework so that when you finish this program, you will have a business plan. When you finish this program, you will have a management and staffing plan. When you finish this program, you will be able to know which banks are more likely to lend to
Mm-hmm.
businesses now that you are formed legally, now that you have your tax, because those taxes are important too, now that you have your tax structure in place, and now that you're able to market your products. So there's marketing pieces. Like I said, there's staffing, management, tax, bookkeeping. How do
Yes.
you adequately, and there are so many resources out here. We just have to inform our residents and our small business owners of these resources that, you know, we hear the saying work smarter, not harder. Well, with all of the technology, there's no excuse at this point. But we
Yeah.
need to inform our people so that they'll know where these resources are, so that they can take advantage of that and move their businesses to the next level. And so that's really the vision for the program. So if
Mhm.
you have products, I call them product pushers. If you have products that you sell, whether that's cups, whether that's hats, whether that's t-shirts, if you have products that you sell, this program is for you. If you are interested in being a tour guide, and I want to do a special plug for potential tour guides and experience providers, because
Mhm.
in every tourism industry, you have to create experiences for people to
Yes.
take advantage of. That is what's going to actually keep people in Selma. Those experiences and those restaurants are what's going to keep people in Selma to stay at a hotel and pay a lodging tax, to
Right.
stay in Selma and have to get gas before they get back on the road and pay gas tax, to stay in Selma and pay sales tax. So there are, I mean, it's just a full scale, full circle. How do we invest back into our community? And so I do want to highlight anybody that would like to get into the business of being a tour guide or an
Mhm.
experience creator. We received a grant from Delta Region Authority. And in that grant, we're able to purchase a trolley, an electrical trolley.
Yes.
We're able to purchase pedal taxis, and we're able to purchase a pedal pub, which, of course, the city would own it. But through the program, for those individuals that are interested, that want to come and get the training with our wonderful tour guides that are already in existence, our wonderful historians that are already in
Yes.
existence, you can't just pop up and say you're going to tell the story. You have to know the story. You have to
Right.
connect to the people that have lived the story in order to effectively tell the story with integrity. And so that's what, that's another part of this program. It's not directly tied to this 10 weeks, but it's definitely another part of the program. But in order for you to be able to tell the story, you also have to be able to form your business correctly. And so that part plays into the Ignite Selma program. But if you want to be a tour guide, if you want to get those experiences, even when we look at our students, our 12th graders, our
Mhm.
11th graders, you guys would be great candidates to come in and
Yes.
create you a business, a pedal taxi business. And we have concerts from now until October, where if you are able to come in, form your business legitimately, lease that equipment or utilize that equipment from the city of Selma, you can go on and
Mhm.
start your business this summer. And while people have to park at the Welcome Center parking lot, you can be their pedal taxi down to the
Yes.
amphitheater. While people have to park on Alabama Avenue, you can be their pedal taxi to the amphitheater. And so there is money to be made, and we want you guys to win.
Yes. So now I am loving the idea of the pedal taxis moving all around our community. I really want to just go back really quickly to one of the things that you said in regards to the tourism industry and tour operators. And that is you have to know the history before you can share it and getting to know the people who lived the history. Y'all, this is so important because the voting rights movement actually happened pretty recently, which means that we have people in our community who were a part of the voting rights movement. Age is something that happens to all of us, and there is such thing as a fragility of life. And so our young folks, one of the key ways that because I see people that say, oh, well, we need to love on Selma, one of the key ways that we can love on Selma is getting our young people involved in processes like Ignite Selma so that they can start their businesses, even if it means, because you've actually inspired me to want to go through this with my son. Like he can't legally form a business yet, but his mother can. And that means, that he can, we can start this thing. And when he comes home from college or whatever his desires are in the future, that's something that he could have under his belt. And getting to know the people who actually lived out the very history that those 8.5 million people who travel to Selma through Selma every year, that's a history that folks want. That is a history that people are making pilgrimages through the black belt to experience. And we as Selma residents have to learn how to take advantage of those opportunities. So Ignite Selma is, you say, I heard you say 10 weeks. And I know that you've mentioned hands-on access to information. So now what strategies, right? Because maybe I'm cooking at home and I know that I could, I'm one of the cash app. You can cash app me, baby. You get best, whatever, right? What are the strategies that you would suggest for folks who are looking to move their business like right now? To move their business from their kitchens or living rooms or front porches even, and into say like a storefront. Are there stages that you recommend, or what are some strategies that you would recommend for those of us who are operating businesses from our home?
And so the first step, of course, if you are operating a business, is to get your EIN number
Mhm.
or your tax ID number. And again, that is free.
And it's
But if
free.
you don't know how to do that, the Ignite Selma program in that first course, which starts this Sunday. So if you're interested, you got to come on in, guys. Right now, we have, I think, 22 small businesses that are enrolled in the program. Our initial cohort, we were looking at 25, but we will not turn anyone away. So if you are interested, this first session is critical because this is the formation session. And so it's going to take you through the process of getting your EIN. It's going to take you through the process of filing with the Secretary of State. It's going to take you through the process of filing with the state of Alabama, your local government, getting a business license. All those things are required in order for you to be a legitimate business from the start. And so that would be step one or stage one, is to ensure that your business is formed properly so that you don't have any issues later on. In terms of taking, oh,
Well, I wanted to just kind of quickly follow up on that, because what if I'm doing it and I'm okay with making the money, quote unquote, under the table, right? So it's income that's coming in, but me forming a legitimate business, you mentioned business license, which may come with taxation. So what are the actual advantages of moving beyond um making the money and being under the table? What are some of the real advantages that folks will receive as a result of that?
okay, guys. So let's think about this. As I stated, Selma, we have 17,000 plus residents.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, all 17,000 of those people don't know each individual person that's operating out of their kitchen. So let's just say if you have a good client base of, I don't know, maybe like 100 regulars, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are cash apping you. Well, let's just do the math first. If you have 100 regulars that, you know, on one day you might have 25 plates, on another day you might have 50 plates. But if you form as a legitimate entity and you, location in a business matters, and you
Mm-hmm.
go out and you do the site prep, which this program, we will also help you guys do that. Eventually, once everybody goes through the process, we know that there are so many vacant buildings that are sitting in Selma, the city of Selma, underutilized, which was another driving force for this program, is to get the businesses to the point where they are legitimized, where they can come to the community and enter into the economy, but also connecting them and networking them with property owners that have buildings that are just sitting there vacant and underutilized. And so if you go and you do the site work and you find you a space, and Selma, the rent to lease in Selma is not that expensive. And so you go and you find you a space in a prime location. So instead of having your regulars where you might get 25 meals a day, now you have access annually to 8.4 million people. Like, just from the math alone, taking your business to the next level is opening up a whole new clientele that right now don't even know that you exist.
Mm-hmm.
Going through the marketing and advertising part of a piece of Ignite Selma, and getting your business, getting your website, getting your social media pages, getting your marketing and advertising press, getting all those things in order is opening your clientele to the next level. So instead of 25 people, now you may be able to reach 300 people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with that exponential growth, the exponential growth in your revenue and your income is going to grow as well. So when we look at business license, I know you mentioned business license.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not tax and license, so you guys don't quote me on this. But I think the average business license in the city of Selma is somewhere, I would say, between $100 and $200. That's a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the potential to expand your clientele by 3 times or 5 times, I think that $100 or $200 a year is not going to hurt you. And then when we look at taxing and bookkeeping is another. I think
Yes.
bookkeeping maybe 2 sessions in the program. But you guys, people form businesses for a reason. And when we talk about those property owners that have
Mm-hmm.
vacant buildings that are just sitting, they're sitting that way because there's still a tax benefit. So there are tax benefits to being a small business. There
Mm-hmm.
are but being a small business and making sure that your accounting and your paperwork is properly done. Because just like you have business revenue, you have business expenses. And most businesses, once they put that revenue and those expenses together, you're going to pay taxes, of course,
Hmm.
but it's not what people may originally think. But again, you got to make sure you have the accounting processes in place so that you can capture, record, and be able to retain that for tax purposes. And there are a lot
So,
of tax breaks, a lot of tax credits out there for small businesses. And so, this is only going to help you. It's definitely not going to harm you.
and even grants, right? There are grants. I know that there are several corporations that offer small business grants throughout the year on and on an annual basis, right? So this is not a one-time thing. But in order to be eligible for those opportunities, you have to have those things that you talked about at the top of the show: the EIN, a business bank account, right?
Mhm.
And so that's very important. So
And there
now,
are benefits to business bank accounts versus personal bank accounts.
yes,
There are certain resources you're going to have access to
yep,
under your business account that you would not have that same access under a personal account. Even when we look at liability, which is one of the main reasons to form your business
business,
legally, is from
yes.
a liability perspective. Once you become a business, and depending on how you decide to form, whether that's a LLC, a limited liability company, whether that's
Mhm.
an S corp or C corp, like whatever that formation is, which again, this program is going to be instrumental because it's
Yes.
going to help you know the difference between the different types of ways that you could form your business. But that is a protection for you. So if
Mhm.
you form as a legitimate business where your liability is limited and your risk is limited, um, that is totally different. Where if I come over your house and get a plate and I slip on your porch on my way up, or I get food poisoning and I sue you, you're going to be responsible for that personally.
Right.
And so if I slip on your porch and, you know, Lord forbid, if I slip on your porch and get brain damage, and I sue you, I'm going to get your house.
Mhm. And
I'm
more,
going to get your
yeah,
car.
everything. Yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly. Whereas if you are legally formed, legitimate business, there are protections for businesses.
And so that is really, really good to know. I'm so glad that you brought that up because those are the things that we often don't consider, right? We don't consider the personal liability that we could face when we don't have our ducks in a row, or we don't cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's. So now, if I'm about to enroll, right, we'll drop that link down in the chat. But if I'm about to enroll, what can I expect? I know you say things kick off Sunday officially. So, what can I expect as a participant in Ignite Selma?
So, as a participant in Ignite Selma, you can expect to have access and connections to people that are experts in this industry, that are doing this all across the state and have done this all across the country. You can expect to have connections and resources to financial advisors, financial institutions, financial programs, grant programs, funding opportunities. That you may not be aware of right now. If you're a part of this program, just with the cohort itself, you're going to be able to have access to network with other small businesses. Whereas you all go through this journey together, you might learn a lesson that the next business owner might not have learned, but because we are going through this together, we're able to share and we're able to grow together. Um, Again, like I said, you can expect to walk away from this with practical, real um, resources, the things that you need in order to move to the next level. So, whether that's your actual business plan, your
Mhm.
actual marketing strategy, the creation of your actual website, your actual social media, like you can expect to walk away with tangible things. It is definitely not going to be a process where you come, listen to someone present for 2 hours, and go back home. As you are developing your mission and your strategy, you're going to have somebody there that can go over that with you, that can review that with you to say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Do you think this would be more marketable? What about this target audience? That will be able to look at the market analysis and provide you with some insight of things that you may not have thought about. When we look at marketing and branding, well, have you thought about these colors? Well, what about this type of logo? Have you thought about a logo? And so having that connection and that networking opportunity to not only other fellow small business owners, but also to experts that work in these fields is going to be
Mhm.
intangible for you.
Well, I am super excited now more than ever about Ignite Selma. We are excited that the City of Selma is stepping up and really being um, the forethought that it takes, right? So it's easy to say, well, what we should have done, but let's put the effort in front, right? Because what we want to do is to make sure that as these buildings are filled downtown, that they're filled with businesses that are able to be stable and that stay there, that they're sustainable, and developing sustainable tourism as a way for income to come into our homes here in Selma. Right. And so capitalizing on all of the expertise, the ideas, the creativity, Selma create some of the most brilliant minds, right? And the people with, there are folks who are I'll consider naysayers about our beautiful city, but there we have literally developed some of the most brilliant minds in the world, that are thought leaders in politics, that are thought leaders in education, that are thought leaders in medicine. I'm just super excited about this opportunity for entrepreneurs in our community. So again, we're going to drop that link in the chat. Mrs. Danielle Wooten has taken the bull by the horns yet again. Listen.
And I
And
just want to say to people, I know you mentioned the naysayers.
yeah,
Um, Selma, we didn't get this way overnight, and
right.
we are not going to recover overnight.
Overnight.
Just from the economic status of Selma, but not even including the tornado. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that, as we move forward, we just have to understand that, especially in government, that things take time. When you
Yeah,
look at it and you say the forethought, this is not something that was thought of in January. This is
right.
something that was thought of 3 years ago. And as we work through the processes and work through the different components and look at these things strategically and comprehensively, we have to make sure that there are certain things in place and there are certain sequencing that things have to occur in. And again, we are trying to take a holistic, comprehensive approach, whether that's, again, working with those property owners, trying to go out and access programs that would allow us to come in and restore these buildings and these structures, whether that's green retrofitting, whether that's preservation funds. Like, there are so many irons in the pot. And so we have to go through these processes. We have to plan, we have to design, we have to have cost estimates, we have to apply, we have to wait for decisions. Once those decisions are made, then there's another process. But I think that I can honestly say that over these last 3 years, when we're looking at what would it take and what are all the components, we have tried to put Selma in as good a position as possible to be able to make way in each of those areas. So whether that's housing, whether that's single family, multifamily, infill, mixed use, like there are opportunities out there that we have applied for that we're waiting on, fingers crossed, praying hands, that those federal funds will come into Selma so that we can move forward, whether it's infrastructure, drainage, sanitary sewer, streets, streetscapes. We have opportunities and applications that are out there for all these things. Um, Again, whether it's the multiplex, whether it's the
Mm-hmm.
riverfront park, whether it's the boardwalk, whether it's small business programs, like we have really strategically looked at every component. I know when we kind of started in 2021, we went and we did the Selma 2030 comprehensive
Mm-hmm.
plan. And I want to just give a shout out to Selma because through that process, we were able to reach over 500 residents. I don't think there has
That's
ever been a
awesome.
planning process in Selma where you were able to reach 500 residents. And
Right.
we listened to what you guys said. We listened to what you said the priorities were. And that is what we have been working toward over these last 3 years. We went back and we looked at every plan that has almost ever been done.
Right.
There's no point in keep doing plans to just sit on a shelf. The plans that have been done, take those plans, look at those strategies and see how can we implement and execute the things that have already been planned. We all know the dream for Selma,
Yeah.
but we got to implement and we have to execute. And so taking those plans, whether it's the street plans, we went back to the street plan. I think that was done in maybe like 2019 and gotten that updated, gotten new cost estimates so that we can go after current funding opportunities. Whether that's the Design Alabama plan that was done, I think maybe like 2016. You
15,
know,
16. Mm-hmm.
yes, those ideas are still very relevant. They just haven't
Mm-hmm.
been implemented. And so
Right.
taking those plans, tweaking those plans, of course, accounting for the changes in downtown Selma, the changes to the market, changes in costs and labor,
Yeah.
updating those things and taking those and applying for opportunities and funding to get those things done in Selma. So there's nothing new under the sun that we're doing. We're taking everything that you guys have already told us, all of the plans that have already been made, and we are taking those and trying to move forward with securing funding to make those opportunities a reality and get those things executed. And so, again, just want to thank the public for your participation over these 3 years. Also, want to encourage you guys to stay informed, and stay positive. And if you
Positive.
don't know, get the facts first. Ask questions. A lot of, and I'm sorry, this is not what this this broadcast is about, but I do want to say this. A lot of times when we see things happening and we may not have as much information, because we can do a better job of information sharing. We are
Mhm.
limited. We have constraints. In my department right now, we only have 3 people. And so with all of these projects going on, it's a little hard to have somebody managing, putting information in the newspaper, putting information on Facebook so that people are aware. But if you are not aware, instead of us creating obstacles and creating barriers and creating hostile environments, just ask a question.
Absolutely.
Because if as people come into Selma and want to invest in Selma, as agencies come in and want to fund projects in Selma, as small
Mhm.
business owners decide, hey, I do want to take that leap and I want to create a business, negativity is only going to deter that.
Right.
Negativity is only going to create barriers. So ask questions, because as those resources start, if those things are done, if we can scale those things out, if we can create proof of concept for those things, then that means more resources are going to come later. So
Right.
although, Sally's business might be in phase one, but if we do phase one and execute phase one to fidelity and
Mhm.
it's a success, there's going to be phase two, three, and four.
Mhm.
As resources come in to help this area of town with homes, if that is done and proof of concept is made, we're only going to get more resources. Like, people are waiting for the proof of concept. And so instead of us creating barriers and negativity around these things, we all need to embrace these things, get information, share information, so that we can all be prepared. So when these things are successfully implemented and more funding comes, we're ready to take advantage of that funding for phase two or phase three or phase four. And so I did want to say that. And again, ask questions. We are getting some resources in our staff, and we are going to be having somebody that's going to be dedicated to information sharing. And so we are hoping that we're going to do a better job moving forward with those resources. Again, that took time. We didn't have the funding locally, so we had to go out and find partners that would fund these positions that are not through local funds. But again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. We have to be creative. We have to be innovative to get things done. We can't just stay in a space of I don't have.
Yeah.
Um, and that's it. I don't have right now, but I'm going to think outside the box. I'm going to
Yeah.
be innovative. I'm going to find ways so that I can have.
Absolutely. I am so glad that you drove us down that street, because when it comes to naysayers and folks that spread negativity, asking the question, y'all, and if they are trying to lead you down a road of a negative conversation, ask them where they got that information from. Right? One of the opportunities and that really folks have got to, in addition to Ignite Selma, there's been an initiative to get folks into new houses, right? Let's ask the questions. Let's be willing to go through the process. Yes. Will there be things that you have to do in order to become a successful business owner? Absolutely. It's called paying your dues. Are there things that you have to do in order to become a homeowner and maybe use non-traditional funding to have a brand new house? Yes, paying your dues, right? So let's not be discouraged by a process. The process is actually the beautiful part. That's the journey. So let's get excited about all the great things that are happening. Y'all, go to the horse. Don't just believe the people that have been to the farm, right? Or just drove past it or heard about it. Go to the horse and ask for information. Asking the question is the bottom line. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because I know that we're going to have some people sign up to be a part of Ignite Selma as a result of hearing this awesome conversation with Mrs. Wooten with the City of Selma. She serves as the Planning and Development Director for our historic city, and we're excited that she has been a part of our show today. We're again going to drop that link that you can enroll in Ignite Selma, which is a series of hands-on opportunities for you to take your business from idea, so from concept, right? Or if it's already in motion but it's at your house, we're going to take that business and scale it. Make sure that you have a business to pass on to the future generations and to bless this city and regions beyond the historic city of Selma. So I want to thank you,
Thank
Mrs. Wooten,
you.
for joining us. We have time has been well spent, honey. You packed a lot of information in these little 30 minutes. So I'm super excited. If you have to watch the video over and over just to take notes and catch everything, then you are more than welcome to do that. Please tag and share. And until next time, we want to encourage you to get out here and start building your wealth, baby. It's time to get it.
Yes.
Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.